In the fall of 2004, Randy Overstreet and I had been members of First Baptist Birmingham. He was associate pastor, and ironically, the last year in '04, I was chairman of the deacons. And so he called one afternoon and said, "Hey, I'm about to plant a new church. Will y'all be interested in coming?" And I said, "Where are you going to put it, Randy?" And he said, "Mount Laurel. It's already been decided, God's blessed it, and that's where we're going to be." And I said, "Well, since we live in Highland Lakes, geography has a lot to do with it, but we're in." So that was how we first came to know that Randy was going to build it here and we were going to be a part of it. Randy had told us that he was going to have an organizational meeting, if you will, on Christmas Eve of 2004 in the Cahaba Valley Fire Hall. They had the trucks moved out. And so Shirley and I came, and I think there were 23, 24 of us there. And the meeting was, for us, it was surreal. We'd never had a pre-launch church service before either, and never before in a firehouse where the fire trucks parked. And so it was decorated as best we could, and we had prayer and song and mainly prayer about the starting of the new church, and of course, praising Jesus for that.
Bill Neuer was principal there at Mount Laurel, and Randy had gone out there and visited with him and talked to him about having the church there. And Bill said, "No, it's not going to happen. We're just not going to let a church come in." And so, Randy left it at that. We turned it over to the Lord, and a short time later, Bill called back and said, "You can have the church here on Sunday mornings." And actually, they started visiting. They joined the church, and they're still here today. So it's just been a fabulous time with that. Okay, the first service was Easter Sunday in the school, Mount Laurel Elementary School. We met in the lunchroom. There were a group of us came in on Saturday to set everything up and get the chairs set up. We had to clean, we had to sweep, and because it was a lunchroom on Friday, and you could smell the fish sticks.
Fish sticks.
Smelling the fish sticks.
The smell of fish sticks and day-old spaghetti was prevalent.
Kelly led the music that morning, and just to see us, I think there was about 42 people there that morning. And some of them, it was their very first Sunday with us, but you could tell they were feeling what I was feeling, and feeling the presence of the Lord, and just seeing what He is going to do with the church moving forward.
I was still playing at Brick Hills, so I would play at Brick Hills and then get in the car, drive over here, play at Double Oak, and then go back and play for second service at Brick Hills.
Yeah, well, it was exciting.
And we moved all the tables. It was set up for dining services for the students, and so we had to move all those tables, all those chairs, move them out of the way, move all the chairs back in, gather them, get them in a row, get them established, bring Kelly's sound equipment on, take care of everything. Take things out of the attic, down to the stage, and then after the service, move it back up to the attic. Put all the chairs back like they were when we got there. And that was every Sunday for numerous Sundays to follow.
A real exciting part for me, I was, of course, playing for Kelly in worship every Sunday, and Randy Overstreet said, "Hey, we really need to have kids worship." And I said, "Randy, look, I'm helping Kelly. I can't do a kids worship and help Kelly both." And he said, "Well, let's just start praying about it and see what happens."
Wow.
And about 3 or 4 months later, James Spann shows up on a Sunday morning and leans over to me and says, "Hey, Randy's talking to me about leading kids worship. Would that be okay with you?" And I said, "Yeah, that would be really good. I think that's a great idea." But it's just interesting that kind of thing happened over and over again, that God would just put the right person in the right place at the right time.
Yeah.
Randy knew that he wanted to build a church at Mount Laurel somewhere, and he knew John Freeman from somewhere. John Freeman was a longtime superintendent for EBSCO Realty and helping build the town of Mount Laurel. So they got to be friends and talked, and unbeknownst to a lot of people, Randy brought a stake one day down to the property, and he drove a stake in the ground. He said, "This is to himself, this is where I'm going to build a church." So John Freeman was in on the plan all along, and John knew that EBSCO was going to gift the land. He didn't tell anybody, but he knew they was going to do that, and he knew where it was, and it's this lot here. So when Mount Laurel would build a house, and had dirt left over, John would have it brought over to this lot, have the tractor smooth it out and get it ready to build on, because he knew that, but Randy didn't know it yet. He was not sure that EBSCO was going to give the land until the last minute.
He actually negotiated this land as a gift to the church, and at no cost. He was such a fine Christian man.
I can remember the day we came out here and laid our stakes in the ground as a church, and actually we walked from the school down here and as a congregation and drove the stakes in the ground.
And we had a campaign. It's interesting, we had actually some quote experts come in and explain to us, based on your economics and your demographics and people, you should raise this much. Well, then we had our first fruits, where people literally, we were dropping checks and money in a basket, and then we also did pledges.
When Randy called us together and revealed the results of our first fruits donation, everyone was just in awe. It was just shock. It was just what God can do revealed to us, and it was a key moment for everyone.
And we initially thought, well, if we can build just a place to have a sanctuary, that'll be enough. But we got enough pledges in that First Fruits campaign, cash and pledges, that we were able to go ahead and start and build our education center as well.
And so it put us on the road to building this facility, and we participated in that from then on until it was open. It was great. We planted flowers, we planted shrubs, trees. These trees that you see out here now are mature. They were just small sprigs when we planted them. So it just shows the life of this church and how the church has grown and the plants continue to grow with it.
Randy took the Bible that he was ordained with, the Bible used in his ordination service, and he had it placed right under the stage before they finished the stage, so that he would always be there and be something that we're standing on the Word of God when we're up here.
So one day my phone rang and Randy was on the other end. He said, "Lyle, you're not going to believe this. I just had lunch with this person and he stroked a check for $1 million to this church." And I said, "Really?" He said, "Yes, but I have to tell you one thing. I'm not bringing $1 million back, because I had to go to the store and buy me a pair of underwear before I could do that."
For us, for me and my wife, Judy, it was a moment of holiness in our lives. God filled us. It was just perfect service. I can't say anymore about that.
That's what the story of Double Oak's been about. It's been about, more than buildings, more than just the exciting, days of getting a big check or seeing a First Fruits campaign go beyond expectations. It's been watching children being baptized. It's watching families be restored. It's been watching people come to know Christ. That's what it's been. That's been the important part about the whole thing.
When we first the First Fruits campaign was to build the worship center we're sitting in now, and just a couple little rooms for nursery. Again, because of the First Fruits and the amount that came in, we decided to actually build add on a bigger building, the educational building that we now see where all the kids are. And so that's how we started. And then after another couple of years or so, we had an option to buy more land across the street, so we built that building. And a lot of you wouldn't know this, but that building was originally a gymnasium and some classes. It became what it is now after another couple of years when we needed more space. But it started off, again, because of the faithfulness of the people here, we had the resources and the funds and, again, the growth here, and really needed that other building. That was born out of the fact that a lot of our community groups for a long time met in people's houses here in Mount Laurel, because we had nowhere to meet. The kids, of course, took priority, which I think was right, but we needed a place to meet, so that's how this next building ended up being built. But I got to be honest with you, the most exciting thing in this church for me is the fact that this group has been so faithful in what they committed to do, to be able to this quickly pay off as big a $5 million or what it was, to be able to come in and be debt-free in a church, and have done that think about the last 2 years of COVID. to be able to do that, I mean, it'd have been easy to excuse after 2 years, guys, we just couldn't do it. I think all of you would have accepted that excuse, right? We've excused it for everything else. But here we are 2 years later, post-COVID, and we're able to come up here and say, we are debt-free. I mean, to me, that is, of all the things we've done at this church, I think that leading up to this point, and think of the ministries we can do, think of the relief we have, think of what we can do to this community, to be debt-free is just incredible. So that's probably the most, of all the things we've done here, maybe the most exciting thing we've done.